Well, this walk seems to have taken a bit longer than I expected, but it is what it is. And finally, I can see over there the thing I'm looking for. So I'll keep going, and when I get there, I'll let you into my little surprise. In this 50-year-old photo showing the station at Nannine, you can clearly see the telegraph poles that extend all the way to the horizon. And here I have found a bit of one of those insulators and the wire that was secured to it. You can see how the insulator was secured by this wire that was wrapped around the main transmission line. And next to the roller line, I found this piece of a cast iron base for one of the telegraph lines. Well, relic upon relic. I wonder if that was one of the fireman's shovels. A fair bit of effort's gone into breaking it, and the tip's worn. Well, I've just come to a section in the roller line that has a track across it, and this is what I've been looking for, because it leads to a site of historical interest. Some time ago, local shires at Mount Magnet and Meekatharra, they actually had some really good signage at some historical points. Unfortunately, they haven't been maintained, and the big signs they had put up have completely faded, so they're almost impossible to read. A bit sadly though, some of the signposts that mark the entrance into these locations have been removed as well. Now, whether it's souvenir hunters or locals that don't want people coming in here anymore, I don't know. But these sites should never be forgotten, because it's part of our history, and a lot of people gave their lives to be out here. The first intact bottle I found out in one of these little spots at Nannine, that is. I don't know whether it's visible on this little camera, but what I'm looking for is just up on top of that ridge. I've walked a fair way and I finally got here, and this is what I've been coming to show. This is a very large cemetery, a lot of people buried here, and a lot of them are unmarked graves. You can see why they chose this spot. It's a sand dune, very easy to dig. So I guess one day they're all going to blow away. 11th of March 1912. Well, this guy was only buried here 26 years ago. Well, there's definitely something in there. I'm not sure what it is, but it has been marked by cut off sections of drays. It's almost like it could have been a building or something. God only knows. Eileen Carroll. Molly Thorley Carroll, 1994.
I was surprised to learn that there were between 6 and 8 graves in the main town of Nannine, apparently opposite the Nannine Hotel. These were removed to the main cemetery, which is here, in 1899.
And I think this must be where people have buried their ashes. And that one's a military plaque. Carroll again. And these are all pretty recent. 1988, another military plaque. And another one. Large stone that just seems to be plopped here. Wonder if it marks anything.
There are a lot of graves at Nannine Cemetery. Many of these are unmarked. As is the case of many of these outback cemeteries, there are a lot of kids buried here, and there are people who have died by all manner of means, including murder, suicide, tuberculosis, typhoid, and just old age.
And there we have a few rows of unmarked graves. The only marking are the plot markers. Wife, mother and father, wife and husband, local prospectors. She died in 98. He died in 2006. Accidentally killed at Nannine, 1902. At least the cemetery does have the grave markers. The one at Leninville didn't have anything like that.
If you are interested, you can find a lot more detail about the Nannine Cemetery and those that are buried here on the website of Outback Family History.
Interesting, and I think that typhoid is what killed a lot of these people that are in the unmarked graves. So she died at the age of 26, and her son has come and put this here in 1993. 81 years later on. Well, that's the last one in this row, and it says 100. So there's 100 of these cast iron grave markers there. And just over the back of the cemetery is the salt lake. Pretty spectacular view when you really think about it. And someone is maintaining the cemetery, probably the local shire, because that's a brand new fence. And good on them for doing it. So when you look at that container, the cross container with the glass in it, was one of the original ones. It's broken, obviously. Someone's put some other flowers in there. But here is a piece of, I don't know what sort of is, porcelain flower that probably would have lived inside that that container, and that can go and rest just there. Here's a small patch of white wildflowers. In years when it's been a really good season, all the red dirt is just carpeted with the flowers. Got a pretty nifty old car just here. Yeah, I reckon that'll buff out. A bit of bog in the roof. Yeah, that's a real door catch. Here's an ancient fence post. Yeah. They look surprisingly like those massive big nails I found over the other side. Just approaching some mine ruins. Little birds on the uprights over there. One just flew off. And just overlooking the salt lake again, or the dry lake. Fantastic views. Look at the size of the timbers they've got here. Don't think they would have got them locally. Seems to be deep. And there's another one just over there. Sort of looks like a collapse. Looks like the remains of an old bough shed. For those of you who don't know, the bough sheds were structures very much like this that were either covered in spinifex or local plants or sticks, boughs, and they were sprayed with water, and the air rushing through them would keep them cooler. Definitely a bit of a waste pile from the old mine. It may have been put here when they were mining more recently. Yeah, it was okay to drink on a mine site once upon a time. All from the Swan Brewery. Looks like a pile that have all been nicely stacked up. And the brick is a comb. So there's an old chimney. Possibly a building here at one stage. Looking at the metal and nails and stuff, I'd say definitely so. And that's the chimney lined with local stone. And just there we have a couple of water tanks. Interesting to see that local stone was used, then boards were placed on top, and then a concrete base poured there. Okay everyone, what's this thing for? The writing says Emery Diston and Son, Keystone Tool Works. It says Falada, don't know where that's supposed to be, don't know what it is, but definitely the USA. Pretty old fridge. And there's an old core sample inside the bow shed. There's a bit of a view of some of the old workings. Don't know whether this is all collapsed or how it was. I just don't know anything about it. Definitely something over there, some sort of stope perhaps, and it's all fallen in. A lot of this won't come out. I can only just barely see down there. You might be able to see the reflection of my watch in the bottom. A lot of American shows are about mining and how people go down these old mine shafts or adits. There's no way I climb into that when you look at them in real life. Just check out how well this wall is built out of all these old rocks. And just in the background over there you can see some fairly substantial brickworks. Bricks have definitely seen much better days. In fact, there's not much of them left. Dried grease and crap. Corrugated iron's all rotted away. Wonder if this was the winder or something like that. Boiler perhaps. Well, this one might be a bit deep. Just hit. Well, that is a series of very old telegraph poles bashed together. Yep, and up the top is where you would put your lightning finial. That's possibly a collapsed septic tank. Old building surrounds. Something nice growing in that. This is a more modern mine that's been abandoned. It looks like the power lines came in through there and there were dongers or buildings of some sort there. So this goes back to the 29th of the 10th, 1979. Now I'm assuming it's 1979. And this is the plant room and the winder motor. Yeah, power's off. Dunny in the shower. Those pieces would have been here for a long time. There's some pretty big holes in the ground around here. Look at the size of that overburden. Like, it's not overburden because it came from underneath. And there's another pile to our right, equal in size to that, which covers half the old town. So just off to the right, looks like I've got a bit of an area where water collects, because we've got these very green trees. I think there's a couple of them that are pepper trees, and they tend to have been grown in the old days. I don't know why, but they're very, very hardy trees, and they probably grow quite quickly and provide a lot of shade. Well, I'm heading back in the, well, it's actually a slightly westerly direction, but it's heading towards the south on the main line to Nannine, and I'll be pulling up to the Nannine railway station shortly. So far, this morning I walked about 12 k's. Now, I don't know what I've done then. I don't know how to use my phone to find that out. I'll have to get the boss to do that for me. So I reckon it's at least 15 k's today. Not bad for someone who's 66 and a half years old. And here is a railway crossing approaching. I just ducked down here because we still have the remains of a water culvert underneath the railway line. There is one track just to my left, and I think it's a dead end track. And it looks like here is a bit of a divide where the main line splits into another line at the station itself. Anyway, I'm going to head off, sit down and have a cool drink. Before I do stop, I've just noticed a piece of metal on the ground, and that's a bit of a telegraph pole. Interesting, if I turn around, there it is, buried in the ground. Oh, fuck me. Do you see that little mother just there? Hey Steve, that's one for you.
Well, that's it for our Nannine exploration. I hope to get back with another group of photos that were taken back in the day and compare it to some of the modern photographs I took this time around, just to see what's changed.
Stop recording.